Hey everybody, it's Janice with Creating to Chaos. I'm going to start this project off with this Christmas wooden mason jar. And I believe I got this at Dollar Tree. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut off the twine that is at the top. And then I am going to take a sander and I'm going to sand off some of the paper that's already on here. And I'm just going to use a really tough grit sandpaper. Just kind of get off some of that glitter that was on here and break down some of this paper a little bit so that I can spray it down with water and let it sit. So I'm just going to give it a quick sand. I only did this for a couple of seconds until I got the majority of it off. And then I am going to start peeling it off, and then I'm just going to spray it down with some water, and I use my Cricut scraper to scrape off the rest. So once I have it all wet, I just take my scraper and I'm just going to scrape off all that excess, and then I will wipe it down with a baby wipe or a paper towel and then let it dry. So I'm just going to wipe off all that excess, and then I'll just let this dry and then go over it really quick with another piece of sandpaper once it was dry. Now that it's all dry, I'm going to take and do a coat of white paint, and I did the front and the back and the sides. So just a quick coat, cover up that dark wood on the back. Once I have that all painted, I am going to take and put a coat of Mod Podge right on the bottom half of this. So I'm only doing it on the bottom half. And then I'm just going to let that dry. Making sure I don't have any Mod Podge boogers. And then letting that dry completely. And then I'm going to take this napkin. This was in my napkin bundles. And this is just the cows with the sunflowers. I'm going to take my water pen and I'm going to go around and just cut out one of the cow prints. So just the cows. So I'm going to go all the way around. Just kind of peeling off as I go with the water pen. And go all the way around until I get just the cows out. I'm going to lay those on to my mason jar where I want them. And then I am going to put a piece of parchment paper over this and then iron it on into place. Making sure that it's stuck very well. And then once I had that on, I'm going to take this bottom half with just these sunflowers and I'm going to attach that to the bottom of the mason jar. So again, I'm going to go around my water pen and kind of peel off around this flower pattern that's at the bottom. And just get it to where it fits on there. So I'm going to try and pull out some of that white background. And I'm just using my fingers and the water pen. And then I started using a little Cricut tool to pull off some of the extra white. So once I figure out where I want it and I have that all set, I'm going to do the same thing and lay it down. And then I'm going to iron that on also. So I'm going to put some Mod Podge down right up over the other cows. And then I'm going to let that dry also. Once that was fully dry, I'm going to take my piece back and lay that on where I wanted it. And then, like I said, take the parchment paper and iron that piece on to where I want it. So cute. Once I have it ironed on where I want it, I'm just going to go around with some sandpaper and sand off all of that extra. I waited until it was cooled off and fully dry before I did this part. And then just kind of go around the edges and sand off some of that paint. And look at how cute this is already turning out. Next, I'm going to take a piece of this metal ribbon and I'm going to lay it across the top here where the mason jar lid would be. And then I'm just going to use some shears to cut it off. Making sure I get it the right size. I'm going to have to trim it again because I went a little over. I'm going to cut it where it needs to be cut. And then I'm going to take some super glue and I'm going to super glue that on. So as you can see, I got it all cut now, and it fits perfectly. So I'm just going to take some super glue. I'm going to dab it right onto the wood. And then I'm going to lay this down and then just let it dry. You can clamp it on if you want. I just kind of pressed it down with my fingers and then added a couple of clamps while it dried. Now that it's all dry, I'm going to take a pair of pliers and kind of push down the sides where they're sharp over the edge of the mason jar. So just as you can see, I'm just pushing it down. And you could make yours big enough to go all the way around the back. I just didn't do that. Next, I'm going to take some twine, and I am going to put a piece of glue on the back, some hot glue, and then I'm just going to start wrapping that twine around the front right underneath this metal ribbon. Just keep going around and then cutting off the excess and then gluing it back into place on the back. Then I'm going to take the same twine and I'm going to wrap it around a couple of my fingers and just keep wrapping until I get enough loops. So I did 3 loops, and then I am going to pinch it in the center, and then I'm going to cut off another piece of twine and wrap that around the center. So I'm just going to cut another piece, wrap that around the center, and then tie it in the back. And I'm going to make a little bow using the twine. And then I'm just going to pull those 2 pieces out to the front along with the other little bow pieces to give it its tails. And then I'm going to glue that right to the right-hand side of this jar. Once I have that all glued into place, I'm going to trim off these little tails and then get my bow adjusted to how I want it. And then I'm going to take some of my antique wax and I'm going to go around the edges of this whole mason jar. All the way around, right underneath the bow. Trying not to forget that area. I probably should have done this before, but I wasn't sure if I was going to do this part. But I decided that I wanted to, and I'm glad I did because I think it looks really good. I even did the top and the sides, and I went around the edges of the back as well. Once I have that all stained with my antique wax, I'm going to take one of these sunflowers that I had gotten at Dollar Tree, and I cut off the stem, and then I'm going to glue that right to the center of the bow. And that is it. This project is done. I think it turned out so super cute. I absolutely love the Highland cows, and I love sunflowers. So this project was the perfect combination of both. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, don't forget to spread the chaos.